Dear friends, this coming Friday night, we will sit down at the Passover Seder like royalty, proclaiming our freedom. We will open the Haggadah, drink 4 cups of wine, ask 4 questions, eat matzah and maror. The commandment of the night is storytelling. Kol hamarbe lesaper, harei ze meshubach. The more you tell, the better it is. Okay, that's doable. But then we recite the following. Bechol dor vador, chayav adam lirot et atzmo, ki'ilu hu yatsa memitzrayim. In every generation, one is obligated to see himself or herself as if he or she has left Egypt. Now, how do you do that? Let's be honest. It's true we have an experiential aspect to the Seder, eating bitter herbs or dipping into the salt water. But how could you honestly say that someone observing Passover in a 5-star resort in Cancun or Venice today really feels like a freed slave from 3,000 years ago? That's impossible. You could perhaps try to understand, maybe to relate, but to feel it yourself, who are we kidding? My friend Mark Bain, president of the Orthodox Union, once shared with me a beautiful explanation. You see, we know that only 1/5 of the Jewish people actually left Egypt. V'chamushim alu b'nei Yisrael me'eretz Mitzrayim. The children of Israel were chamushim when they went up out of Egypt. The simple translation is that they were armed. But Rashi has another explanation, that only 1/5, chamishit, of the Jewish people left Egypt. The rest stayed behind. They did not intend to leave and perished. Moses could not convince them all. Some perhaps were too comfortable. Others did not want to take the risk. Some too assimilated. The question we are supposed to ask ourselves, if we would have been in Egypt, would we be from the 20% who left or from the 80% that stayed? Therefore, the meaning of the obligation is not to feel like a released slave yourself, because that's impossible, but rather to bring yourself to the commitment level of those who chose to leave. Ki'ilu hu yatsa memitzrayim, that you would have been one of those who left Egypt. And the truth is, in every generation there are many who sadly choose not to continue on the journey of the Jewish people. Every Passover we recommit ourselves to being that 20% who remained attached. According to this explanation, we could finally understand why the authors of the Haggadah do not quote the actual story of Exodus, but rather the retelling of the story by a farmer in the temple bringing his first fruit, the bikurim, saying, Arami oved avi. Do you know what's better than the original story? It's when people, or farmers specifically, living a millennia later, still retell it at important moments of their lives. That is our greatest victory. Because on Passover, we celebrate the people who chose to leave Egypt in every subsequent generation. The Jews who chose to tell the story of Passover again and again. At the Seder, we celebrate the Jews who choose to follow Moses. When I start the Seder, I always ask the people around me, how many of them use Google and Facebook on a daily basis? Everyone raises their hands. Then I ask them how many of them could promise me that their great-grandchildren will use it in 75, 100 years from now. No one responds. With regarding to the Seder, I could promise you that there will be Jewish boys and girls who will ask the Manishtana in 100 years from now. There will be children who would have chosen to leave Egypt had they been there. My only prayer is that my grandchildren and yours will be among them as well. Chag Kasher V'Sameach.